My name's Lynn Eden. Um, I spent most of my career at a center at Stanford University called the Center for International Security and Cooperation. I'm interested in how people plan to do things that are impossible or horrifying to do. So I study nuclear war planning. Um, I wrote a book on nuclear weapons effects and why fire effects are completely ignored or have been ignored in U.S. targeting when those fire effects would go out farther than blast effects. And I'm working now on how targeteers, that is, those who do nuclear targeting, how they understand the world. I think I'm interested in people who have power and who do things that I don't really understand. So uh, as an undergraduate, I actually did my senior thesis on why a small town in Wisconsin uh, in the Midwest fired their minister who was liberal. I was interested in how did they he was I knew him from another context and he seemed like a perfectly reasonable guy. So what motivated them? At that point, I was interested in how are people how do people why do people think differently from me? So um, and then I did a community study. I co-wrote a book with a woman in Philadelphia, Mississippi, where the Schwerner, Cheney, and Goodman were killed in 1964, civil rights workers. And the town denied that this had happened. Uh, First of all, they just disappeared themselves, and that others had done it, not that their own sheriff and deputy sheriff, under color of law, that is, as acting officially, had stopped their car and then murdered them. So, so I was interested in that. Then my dissertation actually was on the opposite. How did U.S. policymakers uh, plan the kind of post World War II world, which was a quite a rational undertaking and a successful one. But I still was interested in understanding things that didn't make sense to me, and I was reading the journal International Security when I did my dissertation, just because it was the obvious journal to read. Well, that and diplomatic history, and and that got me interested in nuclear issues. That's what it was. I think what's most important is to make sure in teaching that you know where your students are at. So if they're having trouble understanding some some concept or some big idea or even much smaller things, that it's really crucial to have them feel comfortable to be able to surface what they don't get. If I don't know that, then it's very hard for me to know exactly how to proceed. So I would say that's my approach. It's kind of student centered, I guess you could say. Just because we haven't used them since World War II doesn't mean that they couldn't be used. And I think we see now with Putin that this is not the kind of leader you want to have be nuclear armed, although of course he is. Um, I think that the irrationality of leaders or the stubborn determination can be very dangerous, is very dangerous right now. I see uh, Iran possibly developing a nuclear weapons, kind of preparing to do that, and I think that's very dangerous. The Middle East, as we know, is hugely volatile, and uh, Israel is at war at this point and with its neighbors. Um, uh, Adding nuclear weapons to the mix is not a path to peace, I wouldn't think.